Now that we have learned the financial statements of Hindalco Limited, let's come on to other important aspects which were not covered in the financial statements. We have already seen the stock turnover ratio in Hindalco Limited, but there was few things which were not covered there. That's why I would like to highlight a few more things. What was the stock turnover ratio once more? The stock turnover ratio was turnover divided by average stock. What did this represent? The stock turnover ratio represented how many times my average stocks covers my turnover. This means in this case, in the year 2012-13, 25 times if I have my stock, then I can get my sales. Now, so let us have a look how did I arrive at this figure. Simply speaking, I'll do it in Excel below this. Stock turnover ratio was turnover divided by average stock. This gave me 25. Now what does this 25 signify? This means I have been able to sell my stock 25 times. Rather, my average stock 25 times. So what is the matter? Is it good? Is it bad? Now this depends from industry to industry. If I am producing some heavy goods, a stock turnover ratio of even 1 is enough, like I am producing a bridge. But if I am giving off some small materials or some units, then stock turnover ratio has to be way higher than this. Now what happens is, one should note that stock should not be too much or too less. Too much stocks leads in unnecessarily holding costs, and too less stock leads to a dangerous situation wherein we lose customers because of absence of the product. Now in my fictitious data, I have considered some figures for the 5 years 2012-13 to 16-17, and based on those figures I have calculated stock turnover ratio. Now let us have a look what happens in the years 2012-13 to 16-17 for the stock turnover ratio. The stock turnover for the year 2012-13 was 25. Means my average stock rather, was 25 times lesser than my turnover. To put it in another way, my turnover was 25 times more than my stock. In 2013-14, my turnover was 24 times of my average stock. So is it a good position or is it a bad position? It is a bad position because I am not able to sell off my product. In 2014-15, we are back to 25. In 2015-16, I am at a slightly better position at 25.50, and in 2016-17 we are at a very disadvantageous situation at 24.50. This figures show the sellability of the product in the 5 years. Lower the stock turnover, lesser is the sellability of the product. Higher the stock turnover, higher is the sellability of the product. Now what happens is, people incur huge costs of storing the goods. So what is the general time I keep the stock in my repository, or rather in my stores? Now I have done a stock holding period calculation. How to do it? Now my turnover is 25 times of my average stock. So in a year there are 365 days. My stock turnover is 25. So if I sell my stock 25 times in a year, how much time does my stock stay with me? The answer is quite simple. 365 divided by 25, that is 14.60 days. Means on an average my stock stays with me for 14 and a half days. So depending on industry to industry, you can say whether it is a bad thing or whether it is a good thing. For example, if we take in a industry which makes milk products, is 14.6 a good figure? Absolutely not, because the validity or the life of the product is just 5 or 6 days. In some cases it is 10 or 15 days. So depending on the company, this figure which we arrived at could be good or bad. Now let us see the trend of this company. The stock holding period of 2012-13 was 14.60. It jumped to 15.21. Mind you, when I use the decimals, this means the figures are exact. This can be something like this. The stock might be there for around 14 to 16 days here, whereas the average might be 15 to 17 days over here. In this case, wherein again the average is 14.60, the stock will be with me for 14 to 16 days, and here around 15 days. So what does this signify? This signifies that in the year 2013-14, the company's product was not sellable and they had to keep the stock in the stores for a longer period of time. This leads to risks. The risk is that if I am not able to sell my product, the products may get damaged or the product may require heavy maintenance which could incur more costs. Now, hope you understood this concept. Now the second concept I am going to talk about in this part is about the debt schedule. What is the debt schedule? I have taken some borrowings. In Hindalco's case, we had seen the company was interested into borrowings in the years 14, 15 and onwards. So what happens? When I borrow funds, definitely the thing would be I will have to pay interest. Yes. If I am paying interest, then there is one thing you have to remember. It has an impact on my profitability. So what impact does it bring? What does interest do? And how much we have to pay year on year to other companies? Let's have a look. Now there may be various securities with me. One security might be of 10% interest rate, the other security might be of 12% interest rate. So I need to find out average rate what I pay to the other persons. Now in this case, again I have taken data for 5 years, 2012-13 to 16-17. Again all this data are fictitious and bear no resemblance to any real data. So this is done with a purpose to guide you on few more points which were not covered in the Hindalco part. Now the thing is how I have bifurcated the debts. The debts can be bifurcated as unsecured loans and secured loans. Now secured loans are secured on my assets, means in unfortunate circumstances when I am not able to pay off my debts, the person will come, sell off my asset which was given as a collateral and will take money out of it. Now coming on to the unsecured loan part. The opening balance was 2,50,410 and newly issued was 25,000. So the closing balance is 2,75,410. Means I owe others 2,75,410. Now this is the unsecured part. We have to remember this, that we cannot have entire amount as unsecured, because people will lose faith in me and will stop giving me money at a certain point. So that is where secured loans and secured borrowings comes into play. Now in this example, I have considered my opening balances to be 2,80,593 and we have issued newly around 10,000 worth securities. The closing balance is 2,90,593. Now, for this, I am paying around, the total debt is around 5,48,504, for which I am paying 63,078. So, what is the average interest rate I am paying? 63,708, beg my pardon, 63,078 divided by 5,48,504 into 100, that is around 11.5%. This is how I got my interest rates. Now, what does this signify? Now, there will be some loans which I will pay off, there will be some loans which I will have a new issue of, which will create an interest rate change every year on year. And this interest rate change will definitely have an impact on my positioning of the company. Now let's have a look in the next year. Now what happened was, in this year 2013-14, I made some repayments, and those repayments were around 10,900. Now I had to pay the companies, or rather the other persons where I had issued this secured loans and unsecured loans, total of 5,60,000.